Hi, I'm Bridget Eslinger with the Health and Wellness Bootcamp, and we're here today with episode 7 of the Health Warrior series. It's all about stress, and it is a silent killer. You don't want to miss this. Come back and join me. Thank you for joining me here today for episode 7 of the Health Warrior series. Today we're going to dive in and talk about stress. And yes, we use that term so loosely most of the time in our everyday lives. But I'm really going to dive in and we're going to look at 4 very distinct types of stress. And they are varying and we all encounter them on a day-to-day basis. So exactly what is stress? And I just want to be more specific. It is any physical, mental, emotional, or perceived factor that causes tension in our body. So I want to back up and just hone in on that key word, perceived. We're going to talk about each one of those 4 very distinct types of stress here in just a moment. But just keep perceived in the forefront of your mind. And what is tension exactly? It's when we get tense, right? We raise our shoulders up into our ears. Maybe we clench our jaw. We buckle up our fists. You feel tightness in your chest. All those things are a source of tension, and they happen to us when we become stressed out in a variety of reasons. So stress initiates the body's fight or flight response. And that's really, let's say we're running from a lion, tiger, or bear. Maybe your boss is yelling at you. Maybe you had a fight with a spouse. Maybe you are just frustrated in your everyday life. That initiates that same response in the body, that fight or flight response. And we're going to talk about that more specifically here as we get into this session. But just remember, when we're tensed and we're stressed, that fight or flight response is initiated. So I want you just to take a big deep breath. Just breathe in, fill up your belly, fill up your chest cavity, maybe close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you some very, very specific questions. Do you feel tension in your neck or shoulders? Do you feel shallow breathing or like it's hard to breathe? Do you feel restless or have difficulty focusing, whether it be at home or at work, or maybe at school even? Do you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? And perhaps are you easily irritated? So how many of those did you say yes to? And chances are a lot of us have said yes to most of them. And so that might be a good indication that you really need to check in with yourself. Check in on what's going on around you and focus on what your stress level really is. Speaking from personal experience, coming from a high stressful job, I really thought I was dealing with my stress. I thought I was handling things fine. I didn't feel stressed out. I didn't feel like I was easily irritated or I was having trouble sleeping. But you know, when a health issue arises and you get smacked in the face with, you know, it's your life or your health and you better pick, you know, you really start to dig deep. And when I did that and I took a step back and I looked at what was going on in my body and in my surroundings, it was a rude awakening. So I have to be honest, I said yes to every one of those questions. I said yes to every one of those plus some of those questions. So go ahead and take another real big, deep breath. Just breathe in. We don't do this often enough. We don't think of our breath as being something that could really calm our bodies, and it really does. It really ignites the rest and digest the nervous system versus, it's the parasympathetic nervous system versus the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. So taking those big, deep breaths when you encounter a situation, when you feel stressed or feel tense, will help your body know and understand that you realize you're not being chased by a lion, tiger, or bear. You are acutely aware of what's going on in your body, and you're not going to allow that stressor to get to you and ignite that fight or flight response. So let's go ahead and talk about those 4 distinct types of stress. So there's physical stressors, right? These are obvious. These are illness, injury, personal threats of violence, maybe a poor diet. You know, you're eating things that just don't jive well with your body. Our toxins, and those toxins, remember we covered those in a previous episode, can be our food. It can be the things that are around us. It can be our personal care products, our cleaning products. It can just be our environments, period. So toxins cover a big spectrum of things that can contribute to physical stressors. Extreme temperatures. You know, when we go from a very hot day to a very cold day, or maybe you are someone who works in an environment that's hot and then you come out and you're exposed to that every day, that does take a toll on your body. So just be aware of those things. And if you're somebody who doesn't tolerate heat or cold well, be aware of that and protect yourself from that. Medications, surgeries, jet lag, inadequate sleep, right? That was one of the questions. And drugs, and these can be recreational drugs or prescription drugs, take a toll on the body. So those are the physical stressors, right? And I didn't cover everything. Those are just some of the more obvious ones that are physical stressors. Now, what about mental stressors? These are things like, you know, isolation, like you don't feel like you have enough friends and family. Maybe you're feeling isolated at your job. Information overload. Maybe you're someone who doesn't deal with receiving a bunch of information all at once. I call this drama. Again, with our social society today and social networks, everything is coming at us so quickly, so fast. And for whatever reason, we all feel so compelled to be in the midst of it at all times. And you really have to ask yourself, does this affect me? Does this have anything to do with me? And should I be involved? And if it doesn't, take a step back. Don't introduce that stress into your life if you don't need to. So again, information overload. Time pressures, we all know what those are, and we're exposed to them all the time, right? Get up, go to work, take the kids to school, take the kids to, you know, practice, fix dinner, take care of the home, take care of our spouses. You know, what about our jobs? What's going on in our jobs? All those time pressures are there every single day. So taking the time to learn how to schedule and allocate the appropriate amount of time and be present in everything that you're doing will really help alleviate that time pressure. Uncertainty. I think we deal with that every single day as well. Everything's uncertain, nothing's a given, and some people struggle with that. And again, can you control it or can you not control it? That's a great question to ask yourself. And if it is completely out of your sphere of control, let it go. I mean, there's nothing you can do that will change the outcome. If you have no direct control over something, why are you giving it your energy, right? That's a great question to ask yourself. Lack of control falls into the same category. Loss of a loved one, obviously, unemployment, relationship difficulties, and job demands. We kind of covered those. So again, I didn't cover everything when we talk about mental stressors, but those are some of the most obvious ones. And then emotional stressors, such as grief, again, worry, anger, frustration. And a lot of these emotions are tied back up to our mental stressors. So they kind of go hand in hand. And so you can see how this list just keeps compounding on us when we talk about stress. And you think that you're not stressed. And if you really just step back and you were honest with yourself and you answered some tough questions, you might say, wow, maybe there are some areas that I can really improve on my stress factors and alleviate some of that stress from your body. And I'm going to tell you why that's so important here going forward. So the last one, which quite honestly I think should be number one, are perceived stressors. Okay, these are things, and I told you to keep that word in the forefront of your mind, perceived. This is to the extent that people feel that the demands are they're unable to cope with them. It is necessary for you to realize what's perceived and what is real and how you react to that. And here, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Let's say you walk into a dark room. Maybe it's not completely dark, but it's dark enough that you can struggle to make out what's in the room. And you see something coiled up in the corner. What's your first response? Right? Exactly. You think it's a snake. And so now all of a sudden you become worried, you become scared, you don't know how to react, you run out of the room, you're screaming, whatever your reaction might be. But you perceived that that was a snake coiled up in the corner of the room. Now this is perhaps a room in your home, maybe it's a room that you're familiar with, and you walk in and you see that and you instantly, that was you perceived it to be a snake. Now, so you run and grab a friend, a spouse, somebody, and they come to the room and you turn a light on and you have a flashlight, whatever it is, and you reveal it's just a cord coiled up in the corner that goes to a lamp. So do you see how that perceived threat interjected a level of stress that was unnecessary? So we do this to ourselves every single day, a perceived threat. And again, this can be you perceive that your boss is mad at you. You perceive that your friend is mad at you. You perceive that your spouse is cheating on you. These are all these things, these mind games, this monkey mind as I call it. These are perceived things that we interject into our day-to-day life that are unnecessary. So stop and ask yourself, is it real? Is this real? Or am I just perceiving it to be real? And then ask yourself how you're going to respond, because that has a direct impact on your health and what happens internally into our bodies. So again, perceived versus what is real. That is so key. And how these things, how the body responds to the stress is so important. So back to that fight or flight response that I was talking about. When you go into fight or flight response, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Okay, so we've all heard of this. Cortisol is released from our adrenal glands. Our adrenal glands are super small, okay? They're only meant to release adrenaline when we need it the most, when we're running from that lion, tiger, or bear, when something is real and we need that burst of energy to get us out of harm's way, okay? That's how we're designed. So our adrenal glands weren't meant for us to be releasing cortisol all day long. And again, your body does not know the difference. Just let that sink in for a moment. Your body does not know the difference if you are being chased by a lion, tiger, or bear, or if you have been in a car wreck, or if you have just perceived that there's a snake in the corner. Your body reacts the same way. So this is key. When your body senses that, and it has that sense that you need protection, it instantly releases that cortisol into your system. And your cortisol gives you that burst of adrenaline so you can get out of that threatening situation. So if you're in this mode all day long, what do you think the result's going to be? Right? Back to that tired but wired feeling, the restlessness, the irritability, and there's reasons for that. There's very distinct things that happen when cortisol is rushed into the bloodstream. So let's talk about those. There's overall brain health, okay? It responds by gearing up the reflexes and slowing down higher level thinking. What do I mean by that? Again, you don't need to recall. You don't need memories. You just need to react quickly. And what does that entail? So you just need to get out of that situation. So your body automatically, your brain gives you those instant reactions, those reflexes, so you can hurry up and run. Maybe you can run faster than you've ever ran before. Isn't that incredible? Let's think about these stories that you hear about people who are in situations, perhaps a car wreck or something of that nature, and they end up lifting the car off of an injured person, right? That's a Herculean effort. Could they just do that on the average day? Absolutely not. So that burst of energy, that cortisol, that adrenaline really gives that person that ability to do that. That's pretty amazing. But if you are in what I call adrenal burnout and you live this every single day, you're not going to be able to have that when you need it most. So again, I talked about memory becomes focused on the risks and the dangers, not the details. So if you're in a car accident, and again, this can be minor, I'm not talking like a major car accident, and maybe the police officer comes to the scene of the accident, or maybe a family member starts to ask you to recall the details of the accident. You can't, right? You don't remember those finite details. You don't remember what happened just moments after the accident. It's because your body shut that mechanism off. It was more worried about protecting you and getting you out of harm's way than giving you the ability to recall little minor details. Like, did a dog run in front of you? You don't know what happened. It just happened. It happened so fast, right? We all have a tendency to say that. I don't know what happened. It just happened so fast. So again, think about that. The brain goes into that fight or flight mode, and it focuses on what you need to escape and survive. It doesn't want you to have to recall memories and little finite details. The highest number of cortisol receptors exist in the brain. So back to those perceived threats that I shared with you. If you're constantly monkey minding all this stuff, and those receptors are saying, wow, they really need to get, I got to fight or flight. I've got to get her out of this dangerous situation. So it releases the cortisol into your bloodstream, and those adrenal glands are getting maxed out and stressed out, and they can't keep up with it. Next thing you know, you're exhausted and you feel awful, and it takes a toll on your health. So again, perceived or real. Understand the difference, and do you really need to be in that mode or not? And then the next thing is the gut. And we call this the second brain, and I've covered this in a previous episode of Leaky Gut. If you want to look at that, it's a previous episode of the Health Warrior series. So your gut is your second brain. So what's more important here is when there's a burst of cortisol in the bloodstream, your body's like, okay, it's not important to digest food right now. It's not important to, get the nourishment out of the food that may be going in your body. Again, you're in fight or flight. You're trying to get out of a dangerous situation. Your body's focus isn't on digesting the food that you just ate and getting the nutrients out of that food to make you healthy. So all of your digestive enzymes, maybe you end up with, an upset stomach. Maybe you have bowel problems. All those are tied to stress, right? The body's not focusing on that system. The body shuts that system down because it's not important for survival. What's important for survival is to get out of the dangerous situation, that burst of energy to get away from danger. So again, if you stay in that area all day long and all that cortisol is being pumped into your system, your body's not using it because you're not running, you're just sitting, right? We're not running from anything. But your body perceives it to be the same response. Your body will release that cortisol. You have high levels of cortisol in your body. And when cortisol sits in our body and we don't burn it, it turns to fat. Then we have difficulty losing weight. Maybe you have issues with blood sugar and etc. So let's look at those. Let's look at some of the symptoms, the impacts to our health from stress. And again, I'm not saying that stress is a bad thing. Stress is very beneficial, and an acute stress is necessary in order for the body to perform on a focused level. I covered that. If you need to run away from something, if you need to protect yourself in a situation, that's what our adrenal glands do for us, and that's what that stress level does for us, quickly, right? We get to lift that car off the injured person. That's quick, it's acute, it's right now, and then it goes away. We don't stay there all day long. However, as I mentioned before, most of us live in this world of fast-paced, gotta have more, gotta have it now, social media's in your face, you're not good enough. All those things are at us every single day. So if you allow that to be your everyday, you're gonna struggle, and some of the impacts are, like I mentioned, increased fat, right? You're gonna have a hard time releasing the fat from your body, and your body's gonna store all that cortisol, right? It's gonna put it in reserve because you need it, and it thinks you need it, and you're not burning it, but it's still coming into your bloodstream. You may experience food intolerances or food allergies because remember, your body shuts down the digestive system. Your body doesn't think that's essential when you are stressed out. And again, leaky gut, we talked about that in a previous episode. Elevated blood sugars, increased inflammation in the body. All these things are associated to high levels of stress. And that's why I call stress the silent killer. You can be stressed out. As I mentioned in my personal story, I didn't think I was stressed out. I thought I was handling my everyday just fine. My shoulders are big and broad. I had everything under control. But at the end of the day, when you get slapped with some kind of a health issue and you really step back and you dissect what's going on in your life, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, you're going to be like, holy cow, maybe I was a little more stressed out than I thought. Because we all have so much on our plates. So this isn't something that is, it only happens to 1 or 2 people. Trust me, every single one of us could take a step back, look at our lives and say, wow, I didn't realize that maybe was stressing me out more than it should have. So take a second look at what's going on and ask yourself those tough questions that we had at the beginning of our session today. And what I want to leave you with is I want to encourage rest and digest. So 2 of our nervous systems are sympathetic, right? That's our rest and digest. The rest and digest is our parasympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is that fight or flight mode that I just shared with you. So rest and digest, your parasympathetic nervous system, is really where the body relaxes, right? The body understands that you're perfectly fine, you're content, it allows all those systems to function. So back to taking the big, deep breaths, introducing oxygen back into the body, slowing the body down, calming your mind down, just taking that moment for yourself, at least once a day. Look at what's going on around you. Are you really in a mode where you have to have a stressor, or is it perceived? Are you being chased by something? Are you in a harmful situation? Or are you perceiving it to be that way? Those are tough questions to ask ourselves because we're all human and our brains do things to us and play tricks on us and make us think things we shouldn't think. And again, with social media being in the forefront of us all the time and the stress that society puts on us, you have that choice. You have that choice to let that consume you, or you have the choice to step back and take control of your life and say, wow, I don't need that. I have no control over that. I can't control what the president does or thinks, whatever, right? You voted, that was your choice. You either voted for the president or you didn't. Those are some examples. So you have a choice. And if you can affect it, perfect. If you can't, if you have no control over it and it's not in your sphere of control, let it go. There's no need for you to waste your energy there. Okay? So express gratitude and journaling. I talked about body awareness, gentle movement. And when I say gentle movement, I want to just expand on that just a little bit. Most of us are sedentary by just the means of how society has, electronics do everything for us. We are not mobile and we don't go out in the fields and harvest our food like we did back in our ancestry days. So most of us are sedentary by nature in today's life. So gentle movement. I'm not asking you to go out and run a marathon because, again, your body will perceive you're running. Your body will release cortisol and give you that burst of energy. So gentle movement is something like yoga, meditation, swimming, something where the body isn't having to work super hard. That gentle movement calms the body down and really slows things down for you. And lets you digest your food, lets you absorb those nutrients, lets you have those memories and that recall that we so desperately want, and focus on being present in your everyday. Again, that's gentle movement. Eat without distraction. Don't eat while you're driving. Don't run through the drive-thru and eat as you're driving down the road. Don't eat and work at the same time. Get up from your desk, go outside, be with nature, sit and enjoy your food, and be forever grateful that you have that nourishment coming into your body. And there's always great herbs, supplements, oils, essential oils, things like that that you can introduce into your day-to-day life as well. So again, today's episode we covered stress, and we covered a lot. We covered our fight or flight, and we covered our rest and digest. In the future, I really am going to dive into our nervous systems, so be on the lookout for that episode. But for today, the biggest takeaway I want you to walk away with is, are you stressed, and is it real or is it perceived? I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you give me a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends, maybe somebody who can benefit from it. And if I can be of any further assistance to you, or you have questions that perhaps you want answered, things you want to explore with me, please reach out to me. My office is the Health and Wellness Bootcamp at the Endeavor Center in Piketon, Ohio. You can reach me on my Facebook page, reach out to me in email as well. Until next time, I wish you all the best with your health. Be whole. Hi, I'm Bridget Eslinger with the Health and Wellness Bootcamp. I just wanted to take a moment and share some upcoming events that are going on with Health and Wellness Bootcamp and in the overall Piketon area. So as we come into the autumn season and we stretch into winter and we prepare for the holiday season, it's even all more important that we take care of ourselves. So with that in mind, there are numerous modalities here locally that you can take advantage of here in Piketon, Ohio and Waverly. Most of them are yoga, meditation, and just overall wellness, having a one-on-one conversation about where you're at with your wellness. I would love to share that with you. I do free introductory sessions if you're interested. So for yoga, it's Mondays and Wednesdays from 5:30 until 6:30 at the Pike County Senior Center in Waverly, Ohio. It's great. It's for any yoga level. You can show up. You can have no yoga experience whatsoever. And I would welcome you to show up, and we can step you through that journey, and we'll share it together. As far as meditation, here at the Endeavor Center, on Thursday evenings, we have a guided meditation. So this requires no effort on your part. It's just self-care. Come and enjoy yourself. Go through a guided meditation. And then I'm super excited to introduce the yoga trapeze. If you don't know anything about a yoga trapeze, Google it, find out what it is. I'm super excited to share this. It will be coming to the Endeavor Center starting in October. So I will post those on my Facebook page and on my website for you to look at. But I'm super excited to share that with you. It kind of takes the TRX and the yoga, floor yoga, and marries them. So you're kind of suspended, but you have that yoga feel as well. You get that strength and pulling motion. It's beautiful, and it's one of my favorites. So I can't wait to share that with you. So please take some time as we come into the holiday season and take care of yourself, limit your stressors in your life, and remember, if you're not healthy, you can't be there for your loved ones. So my contact information I'll post here, and you can reach out to me. Again, reach me on my Facebook page, which is Health and Wellness Bootcamp. You're more than welcome to email me at healthandwellnessbootcamp@gmail.com. I can't wait to hear from you. I hope you're having a great day, and to your health, be whole.